Hey guys, so I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a while, but there are a lot of these new, we'll call them scams. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like they are. They're calling themselves like games, right? But they're kind of closer to more like a rug pull, honestly. So, yeah. The thing about them is they say something like, you can play this game for profit, you can make money off of playing this game. And that's just either like inherently not true or they're going to like rug pull you. It's not legit in the slightest. So there was a very well, what's the word I'm looking for here? Well, it's not completely recent, I guess, but it's very topical now with crypto zoo being a thing. Well, not being a thing, I guess that's the issue, but there were actually a lot of projects before CryptoZoo also like this, but I don't think they took off as much as CryptoZoo maybe. I have not really done research into this, nor do I care to. It's a waste of time to look into those things, in my opinion. Well, unless you're trying to help some people out, I guess it might not be that much of a waste of time actually, now that I think about it, but yeah. So, regarding all of these things, it's just like with every single one of these games, I guess, you have to consider this. Like, how does playing the game actually. Oh, don't worry about that, guys. So, how does playing the game actually give you any money? How do you profit off of playing the game? Like, for example, with, let's say, we have an MMO, alright? In an MMO, it's pretty straightforward. You kill monsters, you do some selling, some merching, I guess, like short for merchanting, I guess, or something like that. Don't remember. But anyways, you do that and that you make your money and then you sell your in-game currency for basically real money. So that's against TOS and illegal, but there is one game where it's kind of like it is legal, but it's kind of it's kind of different, a different system, I guess. That's how I would put it. So that game is Entropia Universe, and that, as far as I'm aware, is the only game, or probably the most well-known one, where you can actually play the game and earn money by directly changing the in-game currency into USD. But I don't know of any other game like it. Absolutely none. So we'll take this here real quick. And, okay, we just all right. So with CryptoZoo, for example, it wasn't very clear how you were going to make profit off of it by playing the game. And it doesn't make sense because money doesn't come from nowhere, right? So, for example, let's go with Entropia Universe, right? You might be wondering, how are they able to like give players, well, money for playing the game, right? So it's like the conversion rate is like 1 PED, right? Well, actually, I should use the text tool for this. My handwriting's not gonna look good here. All right, it's 1 PED or something. It looks kind of like that, I think, or maybe like this. I don't know. So every single one of these is equivalent to 10 USD, but like just to be clear, every PED, like, you don't just get a PED for killing, like, a slime or anything, because the game is sci-fi. But, no, not just that, every single PED, like, you can get a fraction of a PD, like 0.01 of a PD, and then also to kill the monsters to get your PED, you'll need like a a gun or something. And your gun needs bullets and you have to buy ammo for that gun, and that costs you a PED. So kind of rough to grind out like PED straight away. But of course, like at the start of the game, you wouldn't be getting crazy amounts of like in-game currency. But an issue with every single like kind of MMO system already, like without even considering this, is when you get swamped with bots, right? Like a lot of gold farming bots. So what the basic concept behind the gold farming bots is there will be bot 24/7 grinding gold, right? And then the the people running that bot will accumulate a lot of gold, right? So crap tons of gold. They're not running like one bot or two, they're running hundreds or thousands. Or even more than that, honestly. And then they sell the gold to other players. And then this in turn inflates the game's economy, and they also profit off of it. So it kind of fucks over the game either way. So a bit yucky in that regard. But also in these cases, all of the cash flow in the game makes sense, and the cash that goes to the players here is it makes sense. And there are also cases of as well players selling items to each other, which is kind of illegal for, but they're selling for real money, like really good gear, I guess. So we'll just put this as like real money trading. Like they might sell an in-game sword for like let's say $1,000, $10,000, depending on how good the sword is, how rare it is. Like if there's only one on the server and only this guy has it right now, and you know it has really good stats, there are people definitely willing to pay that much for this. Like you don't even know, but yeah. So we have player A giving money to player B. This is still looking more legit than CryptoZoo or any kind of scam. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there should be a term for this one day, but we'll just call them shams because I think it's insulting to both scams and games somehow. Like, there are better scams than this. Come on, guys. Anyway, so with real money trading, we have player A giving money to player B for the item, and it's all legit except for the issue of there's no system in place for this, so there is a chance for like a player to scam each other, you would think, but when you have a middleman, it's not the case. So player A and B give their money and item whatever to player C, and player C redistributes to both player A and B. So I guess there's systems like that in place, and there's reputation systems and whatnot. I've looked into that a little bit. I haven't participated in it personally, but that's generally the idea, and that's how it goes. There's also another category. We'll just throw this in as well. Account sellers. And account sellers, it can make a lot of bank, honestly. Like, for example, like, if you guys know about League of Legends, you'll know that was a massive bot issue, and there might still be one. Or maybe they level up through custom games now. I'm not sure, but there are a crap ton of bots and they grind to level 30 and then they're just sold off, or maybe they grind for more. I'm not sure. But this also applies to gacha games as well, where with how gacha games work, gacha game starts, somebody makes like a bit of a botnet, with a lot of accounts that accumulate resources over a long time. So that after a certain period of time, they'll actually be worth a lot and have a lot of resources, like $1,000+ worth of in-game currency or whatever, and then they just sell those off as like kind of starter accounts, and that's better than actually starting a new account. So that's kind of how some ways, I guess, some players make money off of playing games already. Aside from like more, well, I don't know, but the more legit methods would be like streaming, I guess, stuff like that, making videos. Yeah, so not really going to be the focus though. So all of these situations, at least though, they're not completely scams, except these. They're people might try to scam each other while they do these, but these two are a lot more legit somehow because they need reputation to do their quote unquote business, I guess. But like in case of a game like Crypto Zoo, how in the world will Zoo be worth more money if Zoo keeps generating, kind of, right? When it's just a worthless nothing burger, as far as I'm aware, right? It the whole system looks kind of messed up to me, but that's just the general idea. A lot of these more scam type games, so they say they're like they want you to buy something from them and it will be worth more money later. Something like this, and that's weird for a game, right? How does that make sense for a game? If that's the case, then we'll start with this question first. What am I doing in your game? If it's going to be worth stuff later, how am I going to be playing the game? If it's like, this is like saying you're buying, like, you're pre-registering for a game almost, but worse, somehow. Pre-registration, like you're paying for pre-registration basically. Like, it's kind of like worse early access where you pay the same amount as the full release of the game or maybe a bit more to get like some kind of maybe perk. They might tell you what it is, they might not tell you what it is. In this case, in these shams, they definitely don't tell you what it is. And yeah, so you're gonna get more money from this later, but when you look at it closely, they're not really offering a product in the same way because how games make money is, well, when you're the company, right? So it's simple. You're just giving consumers something. In this case, when you're a game company, right? You're giving like consumers, for example, I don't know, in-game currency, which they can use to buy stuff in game. And that stuff will probably help you out do whatever. Sure. Buy cosmetics, useful items, like, I don't know, an item that keeps your buffs when you die, so you don't have to reapply your buffs, or because your buffs are actually so hard to get that you might as well just actually use real money to buy an item that keeps your buffs on death. Like you're using a really rare item to get a buff or something and you don't want to lose it when you die. Something like that, right? So it's actually in-game currency isn't quite correct. There might be some cases where they do sell it, but it's in-game premium currency, I guess. So that stuff can be used to buy other stuff, and the thing about this is you won't actually you won't see a return from this aside from like what's promised. And of course you would want it for your character and uh efficiency while playing the game and whatnot. Usually that's what the stuff is related to, or just really cool items in general that make it fun to play the game. That kind of thing is usually what you would buy with in-game premium currency, right? So with that out of the way, the next kind of thing is sometimes that, because it's profitable, there are more gacha slash loot box mechanics. Kind of like CSGO, uh, the CSGO crates, for example. That's fine. And the only kinds of returns you see on this kind of thing is if you sell your account here, right? With like a really powerful character and it has a lot of rare items and whatnot. Of course, you can buy rare items as well on occasion. Yeah. And then the gacha loot box items also have rare items most of the time. That's the kind of thing they got going for them. Rare items, rare characters, whatever. So the thing about these is it doesn't really cost the company anything other than to like make the items and whatnot, run the game. Yep. So like when you put in $10 to either of these, right? The game company won't give you any money back. They will give you the product they're offering. Like for example, if a company is selling you a hair dryer and you buy it, you get the hair dryer just as expected. And that's the end of that, right? Pretty straightforward. But with like those shams, they go so roundabout for no reason. It's actually makes it suspicious, right? Well, for me at least, that's how I feel about it. So in this case, you can clearly see where the company is making the money from. So that's clear and cut. So Entropia Universe also has some kind of stuff they sell in game, and it might help you get some more pet or something. Not 100% sure, since I don't play Entropia Universe myself, but that's how they're able to pay the player base back. Like basically whenever you exchange a pet for 10 USD, the 10 USD here in this case has to come from somewhere. So if the company doesn't have 10 USD or whatever to give you from somewhere, you're not getting 10 USD, right? So in this case for Zoo, it was never clear to me where this money would come from, like in this case. Not very clearly explained. And that was probably intentional, like most of these. If it was clearly explained, it might not be a scam, but it could still be a rug pull still. That's the crazy part. Like, it's pretty bad, I guess. So, basically, the in either way, the game company has to profit somehow. So the business model that makes the most sense is if they have a functioning game, you can buy stuff from them as well, like normal to buy game stuff, right? And then they need to profit, and then for you to exchange the game currency to their to real life money, then they of course need the capital to give you. So that's basically the kind of loop here. Money has to come from somewhere. In case like of those games where it's like you buy an NFT and it represents this land in this game, and then I don't know, you can sell or trade this NFT or whatever. NFTs, I'll be real, as far as I'm concerned or aware, NFTs are worth nothing. So the issue with the NFTs is that like, we'll circle this. So we have an NFT, right? And then So we have consumer A, right? Consumer A has the NFT, sure. And then consumer B buys said NFT, okay? But the NFT is inherently worth nothing and does nothing for you. So the only time you're making bank off the NFT is when you don't have any NFTs, if that makes sense. So if you get sold, I don't know, we'll just go with this for now. $7 play or the this guy here, A sells to B for $7. So now B, to make a profit, has to sell this NFT for more than $7. So I chose a poor number. I see. Okay. More than $7. Don't tell me that still looks like a mini 7. Anyway, now that means whoever C is has to buy it for more than that. And then they have to sell it for more than that, and that cycle keeps continuing until like there's just some sucker at the end, basically. Whoever ends up with this is they're just having a bad time, basically. As far as I'm aware, that's kind of what NFTs look like. They don't really generate any revenue. It's not quite the same as like a Bitcoin, for example, though. Like this process over here is kind of similar to Bitcoin, where you have like Bitcoin miners and whatnot, like to mint coins and whatnot, and then like you have money, I guess, but you have to sell the coins for real money because the to an extent, like it's not actually, well, it is worth something, but you need to convert to money, and you generally use money to buy stuff, right? You don't necessarily have to convert. Some places take Bitcoin for payment or something like that. But anyways, it's basically like liquidation here. That process needs to kind of happen properly from like game to real money. So in these cases, obviously, players aren't making any bank here unless they go back to the left side and do some of this stuff. And also, it's not just the bot grinders that can sell like gold, I guess. Like other players can also sell it, but I mean, it's not as common because it's hard to compete with the bots that are grinding the massive amounts of gold. And, you know, it's actually so competitive that there are multiple sites with multiple people owning like different kind of botnets to do this. It's actually kind of crazy. And the admins are actually constantly working to try to get rid of these guys, but they keep like innovating and changing things too to make sure they get their quote unquote business to keep staying afloat there. So that kind of thing. Kind of a pain in the ass for both the players and the game company, I guess. But this is pretty much just surface level stuff, in my opinion. This doesn't even touch like game economy. Like, what do you do if like the game economy crashes for some reason? Like, let's say there's a really disgusting bug that hasn't been fixed for a while. Like, an item that should be dropping, it's no longer dropping. Oh no. What will happen to that item? The price is going to skyrocket. It's going to go way up, just like that. Like, whoop. And when it does, the ones that will suffer are kind of just the players here. Because they won't have access to that item, and let's say it is an important item. So now they'll be forced to pay a lot, but I guess some players will benefit off of it. There's a lot of stuff like that kind of thing going on. There are just an amazing amount of scenarios, I guess you could call it. And having doubt and doing your proper view research, of course, is important regarding this kind of stuff. So the takeaway from all this is you should remember, guys, like, where does the money come from? Money comes from somewhere, right? So if the money just comes from you, right? The players, like kind of like this, then there's a great chance you're going to be scammed or you're going to be scamming someone, and that's kind of morally just not the right thing to do, anyways, in my opinion. So that's part of the reason I would never touch like an NFT or anything like that. And I mean, if they just straight up called it instead of NFT, someone was selling an actual art piece, like a physical art piece or something like that, I would have less issue with this. But I mean, I still, I don't know. I don't really get art that much, anyways. Don't really know much about that, but it would be a lot more respectable because NFTs do get making fun of a lot of how you can just like right click and then press save image on an NFT and then you just have it because it's just an image. But if it were like a statue or something, at least then, you know, you have something. You have a statue now at least instead of just like an image. Like, imagine I sell this as an NFT. I mean, I won't, but boom, give me like $500 for this, boys. And then like little Jonathan buys it for 500, sells it to like little Jimmy, and little Jimmy pays $1,000 for this crap. Amazing. NFTs. So let's go a bit more in let's go a bit deeper then, I guess. For now. I guess we can do that. So the thing about all of this though, the important thing is that it's pretty much all illegal. But the most legit kind of way to do it is like, as far as I'm aware, is like Entropia Universe, because it's well, it's just done through the game system and it doesn't break like a TOS or anything, and it doesn't break any laws. There might be laws related to these. I am not sure. It might depend on where you live. It might depend on something else. I'm not completely sure. The legality of this is very questionable, and I don't know. Maybe the courts would side against. I don't know who the court would side against if it became a court case relating to like this stuff and this stuff. But I think they would probably like go with the company. But also another thing about bots that I'm remembering is this actually not just hurts the game economy, but I believe that it ends up mostly hurting the game companies, which is unfortunate. But there's no easy solution in fixing the systems that are getting abused by like this kind of thing. I mean, you can take countermeasures towards it, but I don't know of any game that's been really successful, especially like an MMO type game that's successful with getting rid of all bots and stuff. It's kind of just something that exists that you can't do too much about, namely the account selling in regards to like, for example, a gacha game. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of those as well. So, with all of this being said, uh, the the gameplay is also still important. We haven't even touched on gameplay. But like, for example, this is pretty clear cut. You gain in-game currency, like this is the equivalent of gold in Rupee Universe, and it gets converted to USD straight up. So if any game is offering you, like, and saying you can play this game and then you'll get money for it, where to how does it convert to USD? Like straight up how? It doesn't even help that a lot of the time the games are low quality and kind of trash overall, but you can't just, for example, like say, I can make a crappy kind of flash game type thing, right? Where you're just killing zombies all over the place and you're gaining like this and making a convoluted system. But if you aren't paying like me money, kind of like in this kind of way, how will I ever profit off of it? Why would I ever do this? I'm just basically giving money away for free in an obsolete way. And anyways, the that's just a bit surface level for that as well, but let's focus on the next aspect of profitability. Like, even though this is, of course, legit, how many people are actually able to profit off of it? If you started playing Entropia Universe today, would you be able to play it as, like, a job, kind of? Could you? I mean, there might be players who can, but could a new player do it? Probably not. And the reason is because of competition. And that's another issue. Like I mentioned before, there are actually, it's not just one person selling like gold and just having botnets. There are many people and they're very competitive. So if you were to try to get into the space, I guess, then that would be really hard because they have the foundation, the knowledge that you don't have, and they've been doing this for way longer. So unless you get a lucky break, I guess you would say, you're probably just doomed to fail. And it's already a risky investment, and in this case, illegal. Straight up illegal. So, with this, though, how hard is it to get a PED? Of course, it's going to be hard. And let's say there magically is a game that you can make profit off of, but how? How would you compete with all the other players that want to make profit, right? You probably wouldn't be able to do it that well. So, there's all, well, I'm not sure if any of you guys watching are like this, but basically there's always going to be like a few kind of completely insane people at the top of any game. Like they grind 18 hours casually every single day. And oh, look, there's an event going on. I guess I'll grind for 23 today or 24, depending on how I'm feeling, you know? Yeah, you don't want to really compete with those guys. Trust me on that one. Then when there's profit to be made, there's still also these issues to deal with. These issues as well regarding any kind of game. And then how good the in-game system is, of course, because there's also tax. Unironically, you have to do your taxes in games. There's like a trading tax a lot of the time. So that's something to consider. And also, if if you don't see taxes in your game, it it kind of like, kind of affects this too. Because in-game currency has to kind of go places, so that's why they kind of exist in a lot of games as well, like MMOs, namely. But I'm sure, like, if the game company is to profit, there probably should be like a tax on the in-game currency whenever you do trades or buy like items from other players and stuff. Like a lot of case that should exist to make sure the economy doesn't get inflated and fucked. So the in-game currency basically has to go somewhere. Like, I'm not sure what happens to the PED in Entropy Universe, but I assume it gets kind of deleted from the economy and not never like put back into the economy, of course. Like that would be disastrous. So I got a little sidetracked, but the game would be competitive as hell to make money in. So it might be still fine to play, right? But the most profitable aspects, because, there's this fun thing called supply and demand, which I will use the text tool to do now. with supply and demand. Of course, let's say this thing is worth money, so the demand is fairly high for whatever reason, and it's worth money, of course, so the supply is going to increase, and then the demand is going to decrease because everyone's going to have enough of this thing. Maybe some people still need it, whatever, so then the supply is going to be higher and the demand is going to be lower. So if you're trying to kind of enter into this market, well, the supply's already there, so even if you get some supply, the demand's not going to quite be there anymore. For example, that kind of thing as well. So, considering how competitive it is as well, if there's a guy like flat selling at 200, right? And with your investment and time and whatever, you can only afford to just for you to break even personally, you have to sell at 400. Yeah, you're never going to be able to compete, right? And that guy probably has like absolutely insane stock. He's no lifing and playing like literally 18 hours just casually. That's how long he plays casually, you know? And then 24 hours if there's an event. Got pull an all-nighter for this one, boys. That's kind of how they go. And it's probably not just one person. There's a bunch of people like that competing against each other, and you'll never find yourself having a chance at tapping into that market at all, really. So, with that kind of thing going on as well, the profitability is questionable at best for a lot of players in general. So, in those cases, right, there's also, well, the I guess you would call it a real life example. The real life example in Entropy Universe is there's this item called Sweat. I don't remember what Sweat's for, but you can acquire Sweat using this thing, and like it might be botted or it's because the game's really old and a lot of people have a crap ton of Sweat. Like it's like something insane, like I don't know, like 1,000, 10,000, I don't know, something like an absurd number for 0.001 ped, I think, or maybe it was 0.01 ped for this much Sweat. Like it's absolutely crazy. So game items like that can become worth like nothing, absolutely nothing. So you have to, just because you can make like a profit from playing a game like legit like Entropy Universe, is it even worth your time investment? Is it? Well, if you look at it as a game, you can make some money on the side, and that's not that bad. But is it like as good as even minimum wage? Unless you're at like the very top percentile, I don't think it is. It's actually probably worse than working minimum wage, even if it is legit with all of this stuff checking out properly. And that's kind of just where it's at right now. This video, it's probably going to be stand true for quite a while, but well, if it does change in the future, that'd be cool and I'd want in myself, but if it is truly going to work out, right? It probably won't be anytime soon, in my opinion. But in short, uh, people, there are going to be absurd no lives, and this is going to be more annoying than working just a regular job, anyways. And games do need to be played, so you know that's why people have like 10,000 hours in like CS:GO or Elden Ring or whatever the hell, right? So if there's no gameplay that you can see, it's already questionable if it's a game to begin with. But I think that's most of what I wanted to say. And let me think for a moment here. Yeah, that's about it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, I guess. Bye.